If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. It really helps us bring you more real-life stories like this one. Your support means everything. Now, let's get into today's story. Dad can afford it. My adult kids assumed my divorce settlement was their inheritance, while I was still alive. My name is William Mitchell, and at 62 years old, I thought I had finally reached the peaceful chapter of my life. After 35 years of marriage, a brutal divorce, and rebuilding myself from the ground up, I believed my 3 adult children would understand the value of what I'd sacrificed for them. Instead, they saw my hard-earned divorce settlement as their personal ATM, an inheritance they could spend while I was still breathing. This is the story of how my own children's entitlement nearly destroyed me, and how I had to make the hardest decision of my life to save myself. The marriage that built everything. I married Linda when I was 26 and she was 24. We were young, ambitious, and desperately in love, or at least I thought we were. I was working as a junior architect at a small firm in Portland, Oregon, pulling 60-hour weeks and bringing home a modest salary. Linda worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office, but when our first child, Marcus, was born 2 years into our marriage, we mutually decided she would stay home. "I want to be there for every moment," she told me, cradling our newborn son in the hospital room. "I don't want to miss his first steps, his first words. We can manage on one income, can't we?" I looked at her tired but glowing face, at my son's tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb, and I made a promise. I'll make it work, whatever it takes. And I did. Over the next 8 years, we had 2 more children, my daughter Stephanie and my youngest, James. With each addition to our family, my responsibilities grew heavier. I worked longer hours, took on freelance projects on weekends, and eventually started my own architectural firm with a business partner when Marcus was 10. Those were brutal years. I would leave the house at 6 in the morning and return at 9 or 10 at night. I missed soccer games, piano recitals, and parent-teacher conferences. But every sacrifice felt worth it because I was building something for my family. The firm took off beyond my wildest dreams. Within 15 years, we had offices in 3 cities and a roster of commercial clients that kept us booked solid. Linda managed our home beautifully. She was involved in the kids' schools, organized family vacations, and created a warm, stable environment. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. We moved from our modest starter home to a beautiful 4-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood. We drove nice cars. The kids attended private schools and never wanted for anything. But somewhere in those years of building and striving, Linda and I stopped being partners and became roommates with shared responsibilities. We were civil, efficient, and completely disconnected. I was so focused on providing that I didn't notice we hadn't had a real conversation in years. We hadn't been intimate in longer than I wanted to admit. We existed in parallel lives under the same roof. The affair that ended everything. I found out about Linda's affair on a Tuesday in March, 3 years ago. I came home early from a site visit, a rare occurrence, and found her in our bedroom on a video call with someone. The laptop was angled away from the door, but I could hear the intimate tone of her voice, see the way she smiled and laughed. It was a sound I hadn't heard directed at me in over a decade. When she noticed me in the doorway, her face went white. She snapped the laptop shut, but it was too late. The truth was written all across her expression. "How long?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. She didn't try to deny it. 2 years, she whispered. "William, I didn't mean for it to happen. You're never here. I was lonely." 2 years. I stood there, processing the information like my brain was moving through molasses. 2 years of deception, of lies, of her being physically present while emotionally somewhere, someone else. "Who is he?" I asked. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me," she sighed, tears streaming down her face. "Craig Levinson. You know him. From the country club." I did know him. Divorced, wealthy, charming. We'd played golf together a handful of times. The betrayal cut deeper knowing it was someone from our social circle. Someone who'd smiled at me and shaken my hand while sleeping with my wife. I moved into the guest room that night. I barely slept, staring at the ceiling and replaying 35 years of marriage in my head. Had there been signs? Had I been willfully blind? Or had I been so consumed with being the provider that I forgot to be a husband? The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. The divorce settlement. What followed was 18 months of legal hell. Linda fought for everything. Despite her affair, which in Oregon is technically a no-fault divorce state, so it didn't matter as much as I'd hoped, she claimed she deserved half of everything because she'd sacrificed her career to raise our children. My attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Huang, laid out the reality for me. You built the business during the marriage. Legally, she has a claim to half its value, regardless of who put in the work. Oregon is a marital property state. She had an affair, I protested, for 2 years. I understand your anger, William, but adultery doesn't automatically disqualify her from marital assets. We'll fight for the best settlement we can, but prepare yourself. The discovery process was invasive and humiliating. Every asset was scrutinized, every bank account analyzed, every investment questioned. Linda's attorney painted me as a workaholic who neglected his wife and drove her into another man's arms. My attorney countered that I was a dedicated provider who built a successful business for his family's benefit. In the end, after mediation and negotiation, we reached a settlement. Linda received our marital home, valued at $1.2 million. She received half of my retirement accounts, approximately $1.8 million. She received a cash settlement of $2.5 million. She received permanent spousal support of $8,000 per month for the rest of her life or until she remarried. In total, Linda walked away with approximately $5.5 million in assets, plus ongoing support. I retained my ownership in the architectural firm, valued at approximately $10 million. My pension plan from the firm, our vacation cabin in Central Oregon, worth about $600,000. My personal retirement accounts after division, my car and personal belongings. On paper, I still came out ahead because I kept the business. But that business wasn't liquid cash. It was my livelihood, my future income, and tied up in ongoing contracts and obligations. To pay Linda's cash settlement, I had to take out a significant loan against the business and liquidate some investments at unfavorable tax rates. When the divorce was finalized, I was emotionally drained, financially strained, despite still being technically wealthy, and facing the prospect of rebuilding my life at 60 years old. I moved into a nice but modest 3-bedroom condo in downtown Portland. I downsized my lifestyle significantly to manage the new financial reality. The spousal support alone was $96,000 a year, which after taxes on my income meant I had to earn considerably more just to cover it. I thought my children would understand the devastation I was going through. I thought they'd be supportive during the hardest time of my life. I was catastrophically wrong. The entitlement begins. My oldest, Marcus, was 33 at the time of the divorce. He was married to Bethany, and they had 2 children. My grandchildren, Olivia and Mason. Marcus worked in marketing for a tech company, earning a good salary, but nothing extravagant by Portland standards. Bethany was a stay-at-home mom, echoing the choice Linda and I had made decades earlier. Stephanie, my daughter, was 31. She was engaged to Derek, a physical therapist, and they were planning a wedding. Stephanie worked as a nurse practitioner at a pediatric clinic, a job she loved despite the emotional toll. James, my youngest at 28, was the free spirit of the family. He'd bounced between various creative pursuits: photographer, graphic designer, would-be restaurateur, without ever quite landing on a stable career path. He was currently single and living in an expensive apartment in Portland's Pearl District that I strongly suspected he couldn't actually afford on his freelance income. Throughout the divorce, I kept the kids generally informed but shielded them from the uglier details. They knew about their mother's affair. Linda had told them her version of events, painting herself as the lonely, neglected wife. But I never badmouthed her to them. They were adults, yes, but she was still their mother. What I didn't realize was that they'd all been doing math in their heads. The first indication came about 3 months after the divorce was finalized. I took Marcus, Bethany, and the grandkids out for dinner at a nice restaurant to celebrate Mason's 8th birthday. It was wonderful to be surrounded by family, to hear my grandchildren's laughter, to feel somewhat normal again. After dinner, while Bethany was in the restroom with the kids, Marcus leaned forward. "Dad, Bethany and I have been talking. With Olivia getting older, we're going to need more space. We've been looking at houses in West Lynn, but the prices are insane." "Real estate is rough right now," I agreed, sipping my coffee. "Yeah, so we were thinking, you just got that big settlement finalized, right? Could you help us with a down payment? We'd need about $200,000 to make the numbers work." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Marcus, I didn't get a settlement. Your mother got the settlement, from me." He looked confused. "But Mom said you kept the business and all the assets." "I kept the business, yes, but I had to pay your mother over $5 million. I took out loans, Marcus. I'm rebuilding." His face fell, but not with sympathy, with disappointment. "Oh, Mom made it sound like you came out way ahead." "On paper, maybe. In reality, I took a significant financial hit." He nodded, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. He'd already planned how to spend money that wasn't his. That never would be his. And now he was recalculating. We didn't discuss it further that night, but something had shifted. The wedding demands. 2 weeks later, Stephanie called me, her voice bright with excitement. "Dad, Derek and I finally set a date, June 15th next year. We're so excited." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you. We've been looking at venues, and oh my God, Dad, everything is so expensive. But we found this amazing place, the Sentinel Hotel downtown. It's absolutely perfect." We talked about her vision for the wedding, and my heart swelled with fatherly pride. My little girl, getting married. Despite everything I'd been through, this was a moment of pure joy. "Dad, I need to talk to you about the budget," she said, her tone shifting slightly. "The venue alone is $40,000 for a Saturday in June. And that's before catering, flowers, photographer, DJ, my dress. We're looking at about $150,000 for everything we want." I was silent for a moment. "Stephanie, that's a very expensive wedding." "I know, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime event." "Dad, and Derek and I have been saving, but we only have about $30,000. We were hoping you and Mom could split the rest. You know, traditionally the bride's parents pay for the wedding. Sweetheart, I'm happy to contribute to your wedding, but $60,000 is—" "Mom already agreed to her half," she interrupted. "She said with her settlement, she can easily afford it. She's giving us $60,000. There it was again. The settlement. My money, paid to Linda, now being positioned as her generosity. "Stephanie, I just went through an expensive divorce. I'm rebuilding my finances. I can contribute, say, $25,000, but—" "Dad," her voice went cold. "Are you seriously telling me that you can't afford your daughter's wedding? You own a successful architecture firm. You just got done with the divorce and Mom said you kept all the valuable assets. Are you really going to cheap out on my wedding?" "Cheap out?" The word stung like a slap. "It's not about cheaping out. It's about being realistic. $25,000 is a generous contribution. Mom's giving $60,000. Derek's parents are giving $40,000. You're my father, and you're offering less than my in-laws? How do you think that makes me look?" We went back and forth, her voice rising with frustration, mine staying calm but firm. Eventually, I agreed to $35,000, stretching my budget thin but unable to bear the thought of being seen as the stingy parent on my daughter's wedding day. After we hung up, I sat in my condo, looking out at the Portland skyline, and felt the first real stirrings of anger. Not at the request itself. Parents help with weddings, I understood that. But at the assumption that I had unlimited resources, that the divorce had left me flush with cash, that I somehow owed them access to money I'd paid out in settlement. The vacation home incident. The real breaking point came 4 months later during Thanksgiving. I'd invited all 3 kids and their families to the cabin in Central Oregon, hoping for a peaceful holiday that might begin to heal some of the tension I'd been feeling. Linda had the kids for Christmas, so Thanksgiving was my time. It was a beautiful few days at first. We cooked together, went on hikes, played games with the grandkids by the fireplace. It felt like old times before the divorce had complicated everything. On the last evening, after the kids were in bed, my 3 adult children and I sat around the fire pit outside, wrapped in blankets against the November chill. We were reminiscing and laughing when James, who'd had a few beers, suddenly said, "Dad, I've been thinking, you don't really use this place much anymore, right?" "I'm here about once a month," I said. "I love it up here." "Yeah, but it's just you now. You don't need this much space." He gestured at the 4-bedroom cabin. "Have you thought about selling it? The market's hot. You could probably get $800,000 for it, maybe. More." I frowned. Why would I sell it? This is my retreat. Marcus chimed in. "Actually, James has a point. It's not the most efficient use of assets, Dad. You're paying property taxes, maintenance, utilities for a place you use maybe 12 days a month." "I like having it available whenever I want it," I said, feeling defensive. Stephanie swirled her wine. "We were all talking, and we had an idea. What if you sold it and just stayed at a hotel when you wanted to come up here? You could save so much money, and honestly, Dad, James could really use some help right now. His design business is struggling." I looked at my youngest son, who had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. "Is that true, James?" "I mean, yeah, things are tight. I'm making it work, but it's hard out there. If you sold this place, you could help me get my business off the ground properly. I'd need about $100,000 for equipment, marketing, maybe a small office space. And we could use help with Olivia's private school tuition," Marcus added. "It's $28,000 a year, and it's killing us. And Derek and I want to start trying for a baby right after the wedding, but we'd need to upgrade to a bigger apartment first," Stephanie said. "We'd need at least $50,000 for that." I looked at my 3 children, all staring at me expectantly, waiting for me to solve their problems by liquidating my assets. My safe place, my refuge. The one piece of property I'd fought to keep in the divorce because it held some of my happiest family memories. "No," I said quietly. They all looked startled, as if they'd never considered I might refuse. "No?" Marcus repeated. "No, I'm not selling the cabin, and I'm not handing out hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund everyone's lifestyle upgrades." "Lifestyle upgrades?" Stephanie's voice rose. "Dad, we're talking about our lives, our futures, our children's educations." "And those are your responsibilities," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "I raised you. I put you through college. I gave you all strong starts in life, but I'm 62 years old. I just went through a devastating divorce, and I'm trying to secure my own future. I don't have unlimited resources." "Yes, you do," James said, his beer-loosened tongue making him bolder than usual. "Mom told us. You kept the business, the retirement accounts, this place. You're still worth millions, Dad. Why are you being so cheap?" There was that word again. Cheap. "Your mother got over $5 million from me," I said, my voice hardening. "I had to take out loans to pay her. I'm still paying her $8,000 a month in spousal support. The business is worth money, yes, but that's my livelihood, not a pile of cash I can just hand out." "But you're still wealthy," Marcus argued. "You're acting like you're broke. You just don't want to help us." I stood up, done with the conversation. "I've helped you your entire lives. I'm not refusing to help. I'm refusing to dismantle my financial security to bankroll yours. There's a difference." I went inside, leaving them by the fire pit. Through the window, I could see them talking animatedly, gesturing. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read the body language. They were united in their conviction that I was being unreasonable. That night, lying in bed in the cabin I'd built with my own hands, I realized with crushing clarity that my children didn't see me as a person with needs and limits. They saw me as a resource to be extracted. The silent treatment. After that Thanksgiving, things deteriorated rapidly. The kids didn't call as often. When they did, conversations were stilted and tense. I wasn't invited to casual family dinners. When I asked about the grandkids, I got brief, uninformative answers. Stephanie's wedding planning became a source of constant friction. Every decision came with a price tag and a barely veiled accusation that I wasn't contributing enough. When I maintained my $35,000 limit, she started making comments about how Mom understands what matters, and Derek's parents are being so generous. In January, Marcus called with another request. "Dad, Bethany's car died. We need a new one, and we're looking at SUVs because of the kids. We'd need about $45,000. Can you help?" "Marcus, I can't just write you a $45,000 check." "Why not? Mom helped James with his rent last month, $2,500, just like that, because she cares about us." Mom helped, with money I'd given her. The irony was suffocating. "Your mother can spend her settlement however she wants," I said carefully. "But I have different financial obligations." "You mean you have money, you're just choosing not to help your son?" "I'm choosing not to buy you a car. Yes, you're 33 years old with a good job. You can get a car loan like everyone else." He hung up on me. James stopped responding to my texts altogether after I refused to invest in his latest business idea, a food truck concept that would have required $80,000 in startup capital. When I suggested he start smaller, bootstrap it, or find investors, he told me I didn't believe in him and that Mom would have supported his dreams. The breaking point came in March, about a year after the divorce was finalized. I'd planned a birthday dinner for Stephanie's 32nd birthday. I made reservations at her favorite restaurant, invited all the kids, planned to give her a generous check as a gift. 2 hours before the reservation, she texted me, "Can't make it tonight. Derek and I already have plans. Thanks anyway." No explanation, no apology, no suggestion to reschedule. I called her. She let it go to voicemail. I called Marcus. Same thing. I called James. He answered on the 5th ring. "Yeah, Dad? What's going on? Why is no one coming to Stephanie's birthday dinner?" "Oh, that. Yeah, we're all going to Mom's instead. She's throwing Steph a party at the house. She rented out the whole back patio, hired a caterer, got a live band. It's going to be amazing." The house. My house. The one I'd bought. The one Linda got in the settlement. "James, I made plans. I told everyone about this weeks ago." "Yeah, but Dad, Mom's party is going to be way better. No offense, but she actually knows how to celebrate, and she's not constantly worried about money." Not worried about money, because she had $5.5 million. That I gave her, from my labor, my decades of sacrifice. "I worked 60-hour weeks for 30 years to provide for this family," I said, my voice shaking. "I missed countless moments with you kids because I was building a future for all of us, and now you're all treating me like I'm some kind of miser because I won't bankrupt myself to fund your every want?" "God, Dad, dramatic much. Nobody's asking you to go bankrupt. We're just asking you to be generous like Mom is. She actually cares about making us happy." He hung up. I sat alone in that restaurant, at a table set for 6, with a birthday check for $2,000 in my pocket, and no daughter to give it to. That night, I went home and did something I hadn't allowed myself to do through the entire divorce. I cried. Not quiet, dignified tears, but gut-wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the sacrifices that went unappreciated, for the children who saw me as nothing more than a selfish wallet, for the loneliness that threatened to swallow me whole. The reality check. The next morning, I called Patricia Huang, my divorce attorney. I need advice, but not about the divorce, about my kids. She listened as I poured out the whole story. Every request, every accusation, every moment of being compared unfavorably to Linda and her settlement-funded generosity. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "William, what you're describing is financial abuse. They're my kids, not, it doesn't matter who they are. They're manipulating you, guilt-tripping you, and attempting to coerce you into giving them money by withholding affection and access to your grandchildren. That's financial abuse." The words hit me like cold water. "Here's what I think is happening," Patricia continued. "Linda is using her settlement money to buy your children's favor and turn them against you. She's positioning herself as the generous, caring parent and you as the selfish one, even though that money came from you in the first place. It's a form of parental alienation, and it's working. What do? You set boundaries, firm ones, and you prepare yourself for the possibility that your children might choose the money over you. They're adults. They shouldn't be choosing at all. You're right. They shouldn't. But they are. And you need to decide if you're going to let them extort you out of financial security in your retirement years just to maintain a relationship with them. I thought about that for days. Could I really cut off my own children? Could I watch them drift away, taking my grandchildren with them, because I refused to be their ATM? But the alternative was worse. Spending the next 20 or 30 years slowly draining my resources to please people who would never be satisfied, who would always want more, who had no regard for my well-being or future. I made my decision. The email. I spent a week crafting an email to my 3 children. I revised it dozens of times, trying to find the balance between honesty and compassion, between setting boundaries and burning bridges. This is what I finally sent. Dear Marcus, Stephanie, and James, I'm writing this email because my attempts to have these conversations individually have been unsuccessful. I need you to understand some things, and I need you to hear them without interruption, defensiveness, or dismissal. For 35 years, I worked relentlessly to provide for our family. I missed countless moments of your lives, not because I wanted to, but because I was building financial security for all of us. Every hour of overtime, every missed soccer game, every business trip was done with the goal of ensuring you had opportunities I never had. I put each of you through college without loans. I helped with your first cars, your first apartments, your wedding deposits. I've been there financially at every major milestone of your lives. I never expected gratitude for being a father, but I also never expected to be treated as a selfish miser the moment I couldn't immediately fulfill every request. Let me be clear about my financial reality. The divorce cost me over $5.5 million in direct payments and asset transfers to your mother. I pay $8,000 per month in spousal support, which is $96,000 per year, for the rest of her life or until she remarries. I had to take out substantial loans against my business to pay the settlement. My pre-tax income has to be much higher just to cover these obligations. I'm 62 years old. I have perhaps 10 good working years left before I need to retire. I need to rebuild my retirement savings that were halved in the divorce. Your mother is spending the settlement money I gave her and being praised for her generosity. I'm watching my assets decline while trying to maintain my business and secure my future, and being criticized for my caution. I love you all. I want to be part of your lives and my grandchildren's lives, but I will no longer accept being compared unfavorably to your mother's spending of the settlement money I gave her. Requests for large sums of money presented as though I'm obligated to provide them. Emotional manipulation through withdrawal of affection when I set financial boundaries. The implication that my decades of sacrifice and provision count for nothing because I won't bankrupt myself now. I am still happy to be your father, in every way that doesn't involve being treated as an ATM. I will show up for birthdays, holidays, and family events when I'm actually invited. I will babysit, provide advice, and offer emotional support. I will be present in the ways that matter. But I will not fund lifestyle upgrades, business ventures, or major purchases that you should be handling yourselves as adults with careers. I will not sell my assets to distribute the proceeds to you while I'm still alive and needing them for my own security. If my presence in your lives is contingent on my financial contribution, then I need to know that now, because I won't live the rest of my life being extorted by my own children. I love you. I hope you can hear this and understand that boundaries aren't rejection, they're self-preservation. Dad. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The fallout. The responses came in over the next few days. James replied first with a brief text. Wow, Dad. Way to make everything about money. Real classy. Stephanie's response was longer and angrier. I can't believe you would send something like this. You're acting like we're attacking you when all we've done is ask for help during difficult times. Yes, Mom has been generous, and maybe that's because she actually prioritizes family over money. You spent our entire childhood working instead of being present, and now you're refusing to help when we actually need you. Don't expect an invitation to the wedding if this is how you're going to be. Marcus didn't respond at all for 3 days. When he finally did, it was measured and cold. Dad, I think you need to look at this from our perspective. We watched you and Mom build wealth together for 35 years. That money represents both of your life's work, not just yours. Mom's contributions as a homemaker and parent were just as valuable as your income. The fact that you seem to think you're the only one who earned that money is pretty insulting to everything Mom did. We're not trying to take advantage of you. We're trying to live good lives and provide for our own families, just like you taught us to do. If asking our successful father for help occasionally is financial abuse, then I guess we have very different definitions of what family means. I'm disappointed, Dad. But I'm not surprised. You've always been better at providing money than actual emotional presence. That last line gutted me, because there was truth in it. I had been absent during their childhoods. I had prioritized work over presence, but I'd done it for them. And now that sacrifice was being weaponized against me. For 2 months, I heard nothing from any of them. No calls, no texts, no invitations. I missed Mason's 9th birthday. I wasn't invited to a family Easter gathering that Linda hosted. I saw photos on social media, my children and grandchildren, all smiling at the house I'd bought, eating food paid for with the settlement I'd funded. I felt like a ghost, erased from my own family. The wedding ultimatum. In May, 1 month before Stephanie's wedding, I received a formal letter in the mail. Not an email, not a text. A letter, as if the formality would add weight. Dear Dad, after much consideration and conversation with Derek, I've decided to extend an invitation for you to attend our wedding on June 15th. However, this comes with some conditions that I need you to understand and accept. First, I need you to apologize to the family for your email. It was hurtful and accusatory, and it cast a shadow over what should be a happy time in my life. Second, I need you to contribute the full $60,000 that Mom is contributing. Derek's family is giving $40,000. It's embarrassing to tell people that my own father is giving less than half of what everyone else is giving. If you can't match Mom's contribution, then I'd prefer you not mention your gift amount to anyone. Third, at the wedding, I need you to be civil to Mom and Craig. Yes, Craig will be there as Mom's +1. They're together now, and I need you to be adult enough to handle that. If you can't agree to these terms, then I think it's best if you don't attend. I don't want any drama or tension on my wedding day. Let me know by May 20th. Stephanie, I read that letter 5 times, each reading making me angrier. My own daughter was conditioning my attendance at her wedding on a financial contribution and an apology for setting boundaries. She wanted me to quietly hand over money I didn't have while watching my ex-wife and her affair partner celebrate. I called Patricia again. Is this legal? Can she do this? She's an adult. She can invite or not invite anyone she wants to her wedding. It's manipulative and cruel, but it's not illegal. What do I do? What do you want to do? I thought about it. I thought about swallowing my pride, taking out another loan, giving Stephanie the money just to keep the peace. I thought about standing in the corner of some elegant ballroom, watching Linda and Craig dance while my children ignored me, having bought my way into a room full of people who saw me as nothing but a checkbook. I want my dignity, I said finally. Then take it back. The response. I replied to Stephanie's letter with one of my own. Stephanie, I've received your conditions for attending your wedding, and I've given them serious thought. I will not be attending. Not because I don't love you, and not because I don't want to celebrate your marriage, but because the terms you've outlined make it clear that my presence is valued only insofar as it comes with a $60,000 price tag. I offered you $35,000 for your wedding, a generous gift by any reasonable standard. You've rejected that gift as insufficient and embarrassing. I won't take out loans or deplete my retirement savings to meet an arbitrary standard set by comparison to money your mother is spending from the divorce settlement I gave her. I won't apologize for setting healthy financial boundaries. My email to you and your brothers was honest and necessary. If you found it hurtful, perhaps that's because the truth is uncomfortable. And I certainly won't stand in a room and watch your mother with a man she had an affair with for 2 years while our marriage was still intact, pretending to be adult. about a betrayal that nearly destroyed me. I love you, Stephanie. I'm proud of the woman you've become. I wish you and Derek every happiness in your marriage. But I won't buy my way into your wedding, and I won't sacrifice my self-respect to be there. When you're ready to have a relationship with me that isn't transactional, I'll be here. Love, Dad. I sent it certified mail so I'd know she received it. The aftermath: I didn't attend Stephanie's wedding. On June 15th, while my daughter was getting married, I was at the cabin in Central Oregon, hiking alone through the forest I loved. It was one of the saddest days of my life, but also strangely liberating. I was done performing, done justifying, done being made to feel guilty for not dismantling my financial security to fund their wants. The social media photos from the wedding were beautiful. Stephanie looked radiant. The venue was everything she'd wanted. Linda looked elegant and happy, Craig by her side. My children and grandchildren filled the frame. I was nowhere in the pictures, erased, as if I'd never existed. But I survived that day and the days after. Slowly, painfully, I began to build a life that wasn't defined by my children's approval. The slow thaw. 6 months passed. I focused on my work, my health, and my friendships. I started dating again. Nothing serious, but it was good to remember I was more than just a father and provider. I was a person with interests, humor, and value beyond my bank account. I heard through mutual friends that Marcus and Bethany were having marriage problems. Money issues, apparently. Despite Linda's help and my contributions over the years, they'd overspent and were drowning in debt. James's food truck venture had failed spectacularly, costing Linda about $40,000 total before she cut him off. Stephanie and Derek's marriage was apparently happy, though I only knew this through casual mentions from acquaintances who didn't realize I hadn't attended the wedding. Then, in December, almost 9 months after the wedding, I got a text from Marcus. "Dad, can we talk? Just talk. No money stuff. I miss you." My hands shook as I read it. After everything, those 4 words, "I miss you," cracked something open in my chest. We met for coffee. It was awkward at first, both of us dancing around the elephant in the room. But eventually, Marcus said, "I was wrong about a lot of things. Bethany and I are in financial counseling, and our therapist asked us to map out how we got here. Dad, we've been living like we had your income instead of mine. Every time something got tight, I'd think Dad can help or Mom will help, instead of making hard choices. Marcus, let me finish. You were right. We've been treating you like an ATM, and the worst part is, we compared you to Mom's spending without thinking about where that money came from. She's spending your money and getting credit for it, and we helped her do that to you." I felt tears prick my eyes. "I just wanted you to understand." "I do now. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry. It wasn't a complete reconciliation. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But it was a start. Where we are now, that was 6 months ago. My relationship with Marcus is slowly healing. We have dinner once a month, and I'm back to seeing my grandkids regularly. He and Bethany are working on their finances and haven't asked me for money once. James reached out 3 months ago with a simple text. "I'm sorry, Dad. Can we start over?" We're taking it slow, but we're talking. He's working a stable job now, not his dream, he says, but stable. And he seems to be growing up finally. Stephanie is the holdout. We haven't spoken since my letter declining her wedding invitation. I sent her a Christmas card this year with a simple message. "I love you. When you're ready, I'm here." She didn't respond. Linda continues to spend her settlement money freely, and from what I hear, it's running lower than she expected. Money goes fast when you're trying to buy affection. Craig apparently isn't as wealthy as she thought, and she's discovered that $8,000 a month in spousal support, while substantial, doesn't maintain the lifestyle she'd become accustomed to during our marriage. There's a part of me that feels vindicated by this. A larger part just feels sad. As for me, I'm doing well. Better than well, actually. I've paid off the loans from the settlement. My business is thriving. I'm saving aggressively for retirement and rebuilding what was lost in the divorce. More importantly, I've learned to value myself beyond what I can provide financially. I've learned that love shouldn't be transactional, and that boundaries aren't betrayal. They're self-respect. I'm dating someone now, actually. Her name is Jennifer. She's a teacher, divorced like me, with adult kids of her own who she maintains healthy boundaries with. We laugh about the same things, enjoy quiet evenings, and don't keep score of who paid for dinner. It's refreshing to be seen as a person rather than a resource. My story isn't a happy ending exactly. I lost years of relationship with my children and missed major milestones that can never be recovered. I missed my daughter's wedding. I missed countless moments with my grandchildren during that period of estrangement. But I didn't lose myself. I didn't sacrifice my future security to buy temporary affection. I didn't teach my children that love can be purchased or that parents exist to fund their adult children's lives. The lessons I learned. If I could go back and do it all again, would I change anything? That's the question I ask myself late at night sometimes. I would have been more present during my children's childhood. I would have understood that providing isn't the same as parenting, and that kids need time more than they need things. But I wouldn't change setting boundaries after the divorce. I wouldn't change refusing to liquidate my assets to fund their wants. I wouldn't change missing the wedding that came with a $60,000 price tag. Because here's what I've learned. Adult children who truly love their parents don't treat them like ATMs. They don't compare. They don't manipulate. They don't withhold affection as punishment for financial boundaries. And parents who truly love their adult children teach them to be self-sufficient, even when it's hard, even when it costs the relationship temporarily, even when it means watching them struggle instead of swooping in to save them. Money has a way of revealing people's true character. My divorce settlement, or rather my ex-wife's settlement, revealed my children's belief that my assets were essentially their future inheritance, available for withdrawal whenever they deemed appropriate. The sad irony is that in assuming my money was theirs to claim, they nearly guaranteed they'd inherit nothing. Not because I'd spent it all, but because I'd have died broken and depleted, having given away my security piece by piece. To other parents, in this situation, I know I'm not alone in this experience. I've heard from other divorced fathers and mothers who've been through similar situations. Adult children who believe they're entitled to their parents' assets. Ex-spouses who weaponize settlement money to buy loyalty. The painful choice between financial security and family harmony. If you're in this situation, here's my advice. Set boundaries early and stick to them. Don't wait until you're depleted and resentful. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. A simple no is a complete sentence. Remember that you're modeling behavior for your children. If you teach them that guilt and manipulation work, they'll use those tools forever. If you teach them that boundaries are respected, you're giving them a valuable life lesson. Don't let guilt about past mistakes, working too much, missing moments, whatever your regrets, be used to manipulate you into present sacrifices. You can't change the past by depleting your future. Understand that some relationships might be permanently damaged by your boundaries. That's painful, but it's not your fault. You're not responsible for other people's reactions to your reasonable limits. Find support. Therapy helped me tremendously. So did friends who'd been through similar situations. You can't do this alone, and you shouldn't have to. Remember that loving your children doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. In fact, teaching them that boundaries are healthy is one of the most loving things you can do. The unexpected gift. There's been one surprising positive outcome from all of this. The relationship I'm building with my business partner's adult son, Tyler. He's 29, struggling to launch his career as a software developer, and we've developed a mentorship relationship. Tyler reminds me of who my kids could have been: respectful, hardworking, grateful for advice and guidance, but not entitled to handouts. When I gave him feedback on his resume, he thanked me profusely. When I connected him with a potential client, he sent a handwritten thank you note. He doesn't ask me for money. He asks for wisdom. Working with Tyler has shown me that the problem wasn't my approach to fatherhood. It was my children's approach to entitlement. And while that doesn't erase the pain of estrangement from my own kids, it does give me hope that maybe, eventually, they'll mature into people who understand the difference between support and exploitation. Final thoughts. I'm 63 now. If I'm lucky and healthy, I have another 20 or 30 years ahead of me. Those years won't be spent depleting my resources to please people who see me as a bank. They'll be spent building a life I'm proud of, with people who value me for who I am, not what I can give them. They'll be spent traveling with Jennifer, pursuing hobbies I neglected during my working years, and yes, saving for a retirement that isn't dependent on my children's goodwill. To my children, if they ever read this, I love you. I always have and always will. But I love myself too, and I've learned that those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. The divorce settlement your mother received wasn't an inheritance distributed early. It was the result of 35 years of marriage and the dissolution thereof. It was never yours to claim, to compare, or to judge. If and when you're ready to have a relationship with me that isn't based on financial transactions, I'm here. I'll be at the cabin, or at my condo, or traveling with Jennifer, or working on projects that bring me joy. But I won't be waiting by the phone, hoping you'll call with a request I can fulfill to earn a temporary place in your lives. I've learned what I'm worth, and it's more than a number in a bank account. To everyone else reading this, don't let anyone, not even your children, reduce you to your net worth. You're a complete person with needs, dreams, and the right to financial security in your later years. Set those boundaries, enforce them, and don't apologize for taking care of yourself. Because Dad can afford it is never a good enough reason to give away your future. Epilogue. 3 years later. It's been 3 years since I sent that first email to my children setting boundaries. I'm 65 now, officially retired from daily operations at the firm, though I consult on special projects. Marcus and I have a solid relationship. He and Bethany worked through their financial issues and their marriage is stronger. They've taught their kids, my grandkids, about money management and the importance of living within their means. Last month, Marcus told me, "You taught me the most important lesson when you said no." I'm teaching my kids the same thing. James is engaged to a wonderful woman named Sarah who works in finance. She's helped him get his act together, and he's now working as a creative director at a marketing firm. He apologized to me properly, not just with words, but with changed behavior. We have dinner every few weeks, and he's never once asked for money. Stephanie finally reached out last year. It was brief at first, a text on Father's Day that just said, "Happy Father's Day, Dad." We've been slowly rebuilding. She admitted that missing me at her wedding was one of her biggest regrets, and that she let her desire for a perfect wedding overshadow what actually mattered. We're not all the way back, but we're getting there. Linda's settlement money is mostly gone. She and Craig broke up 2 years ago when the money dried up. Funny how that worked out. She's living in a smaller house now, still on my spousal support, and from what I hear through the kids, she's finally starting to understand the difference between wealth and income. As for me, Jennifer and I got married last year in a small ceremony at the cabin. My kids were there, all 3 of them. It was simple, meaningful, and paid for entirely by us, with no one keeping score. I'm happy, truly happy. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because I stood up for myself when it mattered most. The divorce settlement was never their inheritance. It was my life's work, my sacrifice, and ultimately my lesson to them about dignity, boundaries, and self-worth. And that lesson, I think, might be the most valuable inheritance I could ever give. The end. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more real-life stories. Have you experienced something similar with your adult children? Share your story in the comments below. You're not alone, and your experience might help others going through the same thing. Thanks for reading, and I'll see you in the next story.